Welcome to the February 24th, 2021 regular meeting of the Governing Board. Mrs. Nye, could you please do our roll call? Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Thank you. Would you all please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, and would you please remain standing for a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I'm going to move a couple things around, or move our presentation up on the agenda to our next item, and it is a presentation from our Tarwater Dual Language Immersion Program.
Madam President, members of the board, Chandler Unified School District is proud of the opportunities our two dual language immersion programs provide our children here in Chandler. Our Spanish DLI program is at CTA Liberty School, and our Chinese DLI program is at Tarwater Elementary School. Both programs offer our K-6 students instruction in both English and their targeted language using a 50-50 model. What that means is 50% of the content is taught in English, the other 50% is in the target language. Next school year, both programs will see their first class of sixth graders transition to a continued DLI experience at our junior high schools, as well as the startup of a dual language exploration 4-year-old pre-kindergarten classroom at both Tarwater and Liberty. Tonight, our Tarwater staff and students will provide a glance into their dual language immersion program. Before I turn it over to Ms. Hale, our Tarwater principal, I want to express our appreciation to Ms. Hale, our teachers and staff at Tarwater, coupled with the supports of Jamie McBride and Dr. Edgar at our RRC, along with our assessment team under Amber Stewart, who have worked very hard. Also at our sites, Grace Shea, who has been helping Tarwater specifically, as we can continue to provide a very high quality program. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge the commitment and grit of our students and our families who are here, many of them tonight, who were here when the children were very little and are here when the children are in sixth grade. It was their commitment who helped build our initial design. They persevered through growing pains and helped us shape the DLI program from its inception. When you think of true parent commitment and involvement, that's what you've seen with this group of students and with their parents and with what's happened at Tarwater. Principals make a big difference as to the quality of instructional programs, and I'd like to now turn it over to the presentation over to Ms. Diane Hale, our Tarwater principal.
Well, thank you, Mr. Narducci, and Madam President, members of the board. First, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to showcase and highlight our amazing staff and students. These students have been learning in 2 languages since kindergarten. Like Mr. Narducci said, they spend half of their day learning content in Mandarin Chinese, and the other half of their day learning content, so science, social studies, language arts, in English. In a moment, I'm going to turn it over to them because that's the impressive part, and they'll talk about their journey through the program, kindergarten through 6th grade. I wanted you to also get a feel for, by 6th grade, they can also have spontaneous conversation. So I wanted you to see that not only can they present in the target language, a prepared presentation, but they can also have spontaneous conversation. So they're a little nervous about this, but their teacher will talk to you about how she does it, taking them through an exercise where they see an image they haven't seen before, they have to prepare, or they have to look at it and then speak to that. So you'll get to see that. We will have one of the students translate for you, unless you speak Mandarin, but I don't, so we'll do it that way. And then also, as they guide you through the program, you'll see that we refer to can-do statements, and that's really how our standards are that drive the instruction kindergarten through 6th grade. So you'll see them refer to those can-do statements as they talk about the journey throughout. You'll also see a couple of videos. You'll see that in kindergarten, they can parrot the language. By 3rd grade, they're starting to be able to respond in short sentences. And by 6th grade, as you'll see tonight, they can hold conversations, tell jokes that I don't get, and much more. So you'll get to see that as well. You'll also see in our slideshow lots of pictures of our teachers. They couldn't all be here tonight for social distancing, but of course the success of this program is on the shoulders of our amazing staff of both English and Mandarin teachers and the amazing partnership they have. They work as two parents to these students throughout the program. Like Mr. Narducci, I want to take a moment also to thank the parents. 7 years ago, you took a leap of faith with us, and I want to thank you for that. It was a brand new program, and you stuck with us through trials and tribulations, and I hope that you will see the fruits of their labor, and our teachers' labor has paid off. So now I'd like to introduce Ms. Tina Lang, our 6th grade Mandarin teacher.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Yi Liang. I'm the 6th grade Mandarin teacher. Over there is my partner, Tanya McMillan. This is my first year teaching at Talbot Elementary. I'm honored to join this amazing DLI program and to be part of our Mandarin immersion team. I would like to use this opportunity to thank all the hard work that Ms. Hale and our colleagues have been put in the last 6 years. This is the group is ready to be challenged at the intermediate level, and they are passionate about learning Mandarin. Now, we would like to demonstrate an activity that we do every day in the classroom. The students will observe a random picture. They will have 2 minutes to create a conversation, and after that, they will present their stories. 孩子们准备好了吗？好吗？好，你们可以到前面来。对，第一组。好，前置你的拍档是谁？龙梅 ，OK。好，第二组，请到这里来。好的，第3组，请到前面来。好 ，OK， 准备好了吗？
准备好了。
好 ，OK， 不用紧张。那现在我们来看图片。好，注意等一会儿有问题的时候，你们可以随时问我，好不好？举手就可以了。是的，这就是你们现在要看到的图片。你们有2分钟的时间，准备开始。注意讲话。
我会是小医生，小红包，别人给红包，生日快乐的晚饭，他们家吃了很好吃的晚饭，有茶也有糖，and then we'll do红包。这个谢谢爷爷给我这个红包，里面有什么？有超多粉圈。谢谢爷爷生日快乐。这个茶非常好喝。谢谢，我也喜欢喝这个茶。我很喜欢这个。and then我很开心，谢谢我的爷爷。现在是新年，小女孩来她爷爷和奶奶家吃晚饭，我会是小女孩。爷爷，你会给我红包吗？是的，谢谢爷爷给我这个中国新年的红包，里面有什么？里面有很多钱。谢谢，我最喜欢中国新年。这个茶很好喝，是什么种的茶？是乌龙茶。这个很好喝，我很喜欢中国新年，因为每个人都很开心。新年快乐！
到 ，OK， 好的。现在我请一组人上来说一下你的故事，哪一组想上来说？好，龙梅和前世组 ，OK， 好，你们2个人可以拿着这是你们的麦克风 ，OK， 好，现在我请一个人上来翻译，到这里来翻译一下，谁想来翻译？好，温柔美来吧，好吧，来，温柔美可以，好，来，这边来，好，准备好了吗？好的。
今天是中国新年，小女孩来她爷爷和奶奶的家吃晚饭。
Today is Chinese New Year. Two children arrived at their grandparents' house to eat dinner.
你好，爷爷。新年快乐。
Hello, Grandpa. Happy New Year.
新年快乐。
Happy New Year.
哦，你有红包吗？
Do you have any red envelopes?
我有红包，你现在想要有它吗？
We do have red envelopes. Would you like us to give them to you now?
是的，我最喜欢红包。
Of course. Red envelopes are my favorite thing.
谢谢爷爷给我这个红包，里面有什么？
Thank you for giving me this. What's inside?
有很多钱在里面。
It has a lot of money inside.
谢谢啊。哦，这个茶很好喝，是什么种的茶？
Oh, thank you. This tea is very good. What kind of tea is it?
是乌龙茶。
It's oolong tea.
哦，这个很好喝。我最喜欢中国新年，每个人都很开心。
Thank you. That's very good. I love Chinese New Year. Everyone's very happy.
新年快乐。
新年快乐，爷爷。
And Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Grandpa.
先生们、女士们，大家好，我叫慕容梅。
My name is Brooke Mangini.
我叫胡健 Aaron Anderson.
我叫夏珍 Brent Sauer。
我叫蔡梅 Kara Moses.
我叫龙梅 Addison Drecke。
我叫钱志 Sam Liddell。
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are 6th grade students from Tarwater Elementary School. We will be the first group of graduates from the Mandarin Dual Language Immersion Program at Tarwater. Today, it is our honor to be here to speak about what we have done through the years. 今天我们要说说这些年我们在中文班学了什么。你好，胡健，我在电脑上看见你的视频，我们可以看一看吗？
Are you talking about my kindergarten video? 当然可以。
好，开始。你好，我叫 Aaron，我5岁，我是美国人，我爱爸爸和妈妈，我爱爷爷和奶奶，我喜欢葡萄和香蕉，我爱吃包子和饺子。非常棒。我爱。这是妈妈和爸爸，这是奶奶，这是爷爷，这是哥哥，这是姐姐。好，谢谢艾瑞，非常棒，很好。
你中文说得真好。在幼儿园的时候，你们做了什么？
In kindergarten, we can 介绍我和我的家人，说我习惯什么，数到100，和有一个很特别的 100th Day ceremony。你呢？你们在 first and second grade 做什么？
When we were in 1st grade, we had a 特别的中文 naming ceremony. 在那个时候，我有了我的 Chinese name， 我还知道它的意思。比如说，我姓慕容，我叫慕容梅，梅是美丽的梅。We can also do 中文书。We can share 我们的朋友和我们的学校。We can also 做数学。
When we were in second grade, we can 做更多数学，说很多中文。We can also 有中文读书比赛，我还得到一个很大的奖杯 trophy 呢。We can also 学中文功夫。好了，该到我们说 third to fifth grades。我们说了什么？大家看 I want to show you my third grade video.
你好，你叫什么名字？我叫 Brent。你的中文名字是什么？我中文名字是夏江。你几岁？我8岁。你姓什么？我姓萨尔。你属什么？我属牛。你是哪国人？我是美国人。你是几年级的学生？我是3年级的学生。你喜欢什么颜色？我喜欢蓝色。你喜欢吃什么？我喜欢吃巧克力和披萨。你家有几口人？我家有5口人。他们是谁？他们是妈妈、爸爸、2个哥哥和我。你学几年中文了？我学4年中文的。你想去中国的什么地方？我想去北京。你家有狗吗？我家有狗。你家有猫吗？我家没有猫。你喜欢什么动物？我喜欢小狗。你喜欢什么植物？我喜欢百合花。你会唱中国歌吗？我会唱中国歌。你可以唱小松树吗？我可以唱小松树。好。小松树快长大，梨树叶发新芽，阳光雨露为我们，快快长大，快快长大。非常棒，你可以朗诵诗吗？我可以朗诵诗。好。
那个时候 we can 一问一答很多问题 ，we can 学科学 ，we can 和朋友用中文说话 ，and we can 学中国舞。
对，我还记得有一次我在英文课上用中文回答问题。
你忘了你在上英文课吗？
是的。
At fourth grade， 你学了什么
？In fourth grade, we can 写很多中文。We can also 做 science reports. 在during Mid-Autumn Day, 我们做月饼 ，and during Chinese New Year, 我们学京剧和做饺子。
对呀，我们现在每年春节都要和我的家人一起做饺子、吃 dumpling 呢。
你记得在 fifth grade 的时候，我们学了什么吗？
对 ，at fifth grade 我们开始读 chapter books， 我们做很多社会科学 experiments， 我们做一个很有意思的中国文化制作小活动。我们到学校每一个班去介绍中国文化，教大家说中文，玩 Jeopardy 游戏。
Are you saying at Tarwater we only learn Mandarin?
Of course not. We are half-half. Do you know what half-half is?
Coffee mate?
No, not coffee mate. It's where we spend half the day in Mandarin class and the other half in English class.
In fact, we have some of the best English teachers. We get the best of both worlds.
Now, Sam and I are going to talk about what we have been doing in 6th grade. 让我和天志来说说我们今年6年级在做什么。在6年级，我们学了很多社会科学，了解了更多的中国文化。今天我们来说说中国的茶文化。中国的茶有很多种，有红茶、绿茶、乌龙茶和花茶。如果你吃得很饱，你可以喝红茶，它会帮助你消化。红茶是棕色的，是有发酵的茶。你很累的时候可以喝绿茶，因为它有咖啡因。绿茶是绿色的，是没有发酵的茶。乌龙茶是半发酵的茶。乌龙茶很好喝。 中国最有名的乌龙茶是兰桂人乌龙茶。花茶是把花和茶放在一起，很多女生会喝花茶，因为它可以帮助你更漂亮。
是的，古时候在中国有一条很有名的路，叫丝绸之路，它起源于西汉首都长安，也就是现在的西安。它的兵马俑很有名。丝绸之路经过中亚、印度等地方，一直到意大利的罗马，是一条连接中国和西方的路。大家用这条路来做贸易。茶通过丝绸之路来到欧洲，所以丝绸之路也叫做茶叶之路。
现在我们为了大家准备了用中国茶做礼物。
Thank you so much. So cute. Thank you.
Now, since we are still celebrating the 15-day Lunar New Year, we would like to wish everybody the very best of 2021. And in fact, this Friday is the last day of the Lunar New Year, or the Lantern Festival. So we want to wish everybody the very best of 2021. 祝大家正月十五喜庆多。Wish you have a joyous New Year.
阖家欢乐，幸福多。Wish you have a happy family.
心情愉快，朋友多。Wish you good moods and with lots of friends. 身体健康，快乐多。Wish you have good health.
年年吉祥，如意多。Wish you have a blessed year.
祝愿您好事多多。Wish you have good things happen to you.
谢谢。
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. I can't believe that it has been 7 years since all of this began, and what an amazing growth in learning a language, and I'm so proud of all of you. I'm kind of overwhelmed. Do any of our board members want to say a few things?
Thank you very much, guys. And 你们说得很好。
Does anybody want to translate that for us?
They said you speak very well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming this evening, and we appreciate it that you took the time out to really show us what some of the decisions that we made within this district to start the program, how beautifully they've turned out. And we appreciate all the teachers' work and the coordination. I know you said there's been a few rough spots here and there, but it was important enough to overcome all of those challenges that were there, because this does help our children, those students who have gone through these dual immersion program, to really become ambassadors for the future. So thank you so much.
Great job. Great job.
And to the parents, thank you for bringing them out this evening. So you're certainly welcome to leave as soon as they can. We know you have but you're welcome to stay as well. But thank you for taking a chance on us and hanging in with the program.
That was a great presentation. We will now loop back and start with our routine business. First, we need to approve the minutes of the February 10th of 2021 regular board meeting and the February 12th and 18th special board meetings. Could I please get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the 3 meetings, please say aye.
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 Next, we have to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable vouchers. Could I get a motion, please?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable vouchers.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Dr. Castile, do we have any correspondence?
None this evening, Madam President.
Thank you. Our next section is for our student body president comments. And this evening we have 2 students, one from Hamilton and one from Perry High School. I would like to welcome to the podium Brooke Romero from Hamilton High School. Brooke, good to see you.
I don't know how I can follow up from that, but I'll try my very best. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be back here. My name is Brooke Romero, and I am Hamilton High School's student body president. A lot of excitement has been going on at Hamilton since last time I met with you guys. The Friday before Valentine's Day, all of Stugo posted over 3,000 hearts around Hamilton's campus with every single student's name written on them. Myself, along with so many others, felt so loved and appreciated during that day. It was incredible to see everyone posting on social media, talking about how excited they were, and it was such a small gesture that truly did go a long way. This previous week, we had our Focusing on the Future Spirit Week. For this Spirit Week, we had futuristic, fun-themed days, and it all ended on Friday with our virtual assembly. The assembly was watched in classrooms on Friday, and it was created by a bunch of our incredibly talented Hamilton Huskies. The video truly recognized all of our winter sports, as well as a few very talented groups of students on campus. And then, let's see, now that we are done with all of that fun stuff, we are currently in the works of creating some more safe and exciting events to plan. We are using our social media platform, TikTok, to post our multicultural assembly. So our multicultural assembly recognizes a bunch of different incredible cultures. Hamilton is a school of diversity and differences, and that's truly what brings us together. And so this assembly really recognizes all of that. With using TikTok, we're hoping to make it a little more interactive and exciting because obviously no one wants a virtual assembly, but we have to just make the best out of what we have, and we truly have done that this year, and we wish to continue to do that for the rest of the year. We are also hoping to make sure that the last quarter or so that we have on campus to make sure that we really just make the student body feel as loved and appreciated as we feel towards them. Stugo is just a group of incredible people here at Hamilton, and we truly do love all of our students, and we want to make sure that they feel that way. And we love all of our staff, so we have some fun stuff planned for them, of course. The seniors in particular, we know, have been struggling, myself as one, and so we really are hoping to recognize them and really give a spotlight to them because we know that they deserve it. They've really worked through all of this as well as all of you. This year, we have truly learned what creativity means. We've had to be creative in everything that we do, and it's definitely not just adding a fun color to a poster. It goes beyond that. So we have really learned to adapt and are continuing to make Hamilton the place that we all know and love. We as a Stugo look forward to the final months of the school year ahead, and we continue to adapt, create, and support, and smile through our eyes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. We appreciate you coming out, and Thank you for updating us on all the great things that are going on in Hamilton.
Yeah, of course. I was happy to. Thank you.
Thank you. And tonight from Perry High School, I would like to welcome to the podium Miri Chan.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us back here to speak tonight. As mentioned, I'm Miri Chan, and I'm the student body president at Perry High School. There's a lot happening on our campus right now, and I'm glad to be here to share it all with you. A few days after I was last here, I think 3 weeks ago, 15 members of our council spent their weekend attending the virtual AASC State Convention. AASC is the Arizona Association of Student Councils, and while we normally traveled to attend the convention, it was all virtual this year. We still dressed up in costumes and learned from many guest speakers, so it was a very worthwhile weekend. At the convention, we were awarded with the title of Council of Distinction and received the Platinum Award in Fundraising and Community Service. Additionally, Sammy Cristerna was selected as a finalist for the AASC State President position. The convention theme was Friends, and we were very proud of our Perry Perk uniforms. This quarter, Stugo has been very busy with Valentine's activities and a Spirit Week this week. The week before Valentine's Day, we decked out the cafeteria with our annual heart attack. We wrote every student's name on a heart and taped them all over the cafeteria to kick off our Valentine's week. During the week, we sold Valentine's grams for students to send and receive candy bars on Friday. All the profits from the grams are being donated to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Fund. This was a great way for us to boost student morale and spread some love throughout campus. We've also created our council's first kindness committee. This group comes up with new ways to spread random acts of kindness every week. During Valentine's Week, they put up this kindness poster wall. They've also put compliment clothespins all throughout campus and pasted Happy Notes sticky notes in the cafeteria. This week, our Stugo is currently hosting a quarantine-themed Spirit Week to throw back to a year ago when we first went into lockdown. We kicked off this event with hallway decorating themed to each Spirit Day in our main buildings. We are also presenting a virtual assembly tomorrow to showcase our winter sports and pom and cheer teams. During lunches, we play music and host games for students, and we're also selling candy bars at lunch to raise money for JDRF. While this week is Spirit Week, it's also our JDRF fundraising week. We're hosting a competition between the teachers to see which teacher can raise the most money from all their classes. The male and female teacher who win the most money are going to be crowned King and Queen of Perry, which is a big deal. Also, every night this week, we are hosting restaurant fundraisers. So if anyone gets hungry after this meeting, the restaurant tonight is Some Burros on Queen Creek and Higley. After only 3 days of fundraising, our students and staff have already raised over $1,000. Our council has been extremely busy this quarter, and it's so rewarding to see all our hard work pay off. In club news, our National Honor Society is currently hosting a canned food drive for the Matthews Crossing Food Bank. It's a class competition for who can bring in the most cans, and this is the last week of the drive. So far, after a week and a half, our student body has already donated over 800 cans. There's a lot of service happening on the Perry campus. Also, the Perry Precedent newspaper won 28 state awards in the fall. They will be finding out their state results later this year, and they have a big chance of winning back-to-back state awards. Another service club on campus, Operation Smile, just concluded their World's Finest Chocolate fundraiser. After selling 4,200 chocolate bars, they raised over $2,000 to fund surgeries for children with cleft lips and cleft palates. Continuing on with community service, the Leo Club on campus spread some joy during the holiday season by assembling bikes for disadvantaged kids. Also, our Pumas for Pumas Club is partnering with ASU to create educational videos on important mental health topics of this time. The clubs at Perry have continued to serve the community despite the circumstances. Within Perry DECA, we have 3 amazing students who are the only nationally recognized emerging leaders for the state of Arizona. These students were selected based on academics, school and community involvement, and DECA participation on the state and national level. This weekend, DECA will compete at their first virtual state competition of the year. In athletic news, our boys basketball team is ranked 3rd in the AIA 6A rankings with an 11-1 season. Girls basketball is ranked 7 in the 6A rankings with a 9-4 season, and our girls soccer team has had an undefeated season, 8-0, as they continue to rank number 1 in the 6A rankings. One of our school's biggest accomplishments is our championship cheer teams. Last weekend, they competed and won all 4 divisions they entered. The freshman, JV, varsity, and 5-man stunt team all placed first place. The varsity team also earned grand champions as they had the highest score of the whole competition. It was a clean sweep for Perry Cheer, and they are continuing to practice to prepare for the AIA State Championship. We are so proud of our student body for all of their accomplishments this year. Despite the circumstances, our students and staff have been working hard to make the best of it. Thank you for your time, and as always, I have some gifts for you guys.
Thank you. All right.
Mary, thank you so much for joining us this evening and sharing what's going on at Perry High School. It's amazing how much community service your school is still doing, even in the pandemic. So thank you so much, and please express our appreciation to all those who have worked so hard to raise those funds to donate to those great organizations.
Thank you.
And our both Brooke and Mary, you are welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but if you have things that you need to do, please know that you can leave if you desire. Okay, thank you so much. Our next part of our meeting is for citizen comments, and I'm going to start with Mr. Locke. He is going to give us read the online comments that we received prior to this board meeting.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Castile. Since our last board meeting on February 10th, we heard from 2 people who took advantage of our electronic method to provide citizen comments. The opportunity is promoted on our governing board page, allowing for the convenience of providing feedback remotely. With our current format, we're able to provide board members feedback in advance to give them time to process the information and ask questions of the district administration. We categorize the feedback by topic. Both emails this week fall in the category of health, safety, mask, and metrics. You have the submissions verbatim for your consideration. They're also available on the website for public review.
Thank you, Mr. Locke. And then this is the time for the public to comment in the meeting. Members of the board may not discuss any items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38430.01, action taken as a result of a public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Mr. Roars, you're first up this evening. And we have, since we only have 2 speakers this evening, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Kurt Roars, and I'm a parent in this district. I come here this evening to address the board staff members on comprehensive sexualization education, or CSE. Now that we have a new leftist political administration, we expect a renewed push to implement radical sexualization education for students in the district, particularly through the political advocacy arm of Planned Parenthood. CSE takes this topic far beyond traditional sex education involving health and biology. It seeks to normalize sexual activity of children all the way down to elementary school level, including curriculum with graphic depictions of various sex acts. Please note that this is still a serious felony in the state of Arizona. Planned Parenthood is taking the lead in normalizing sexual relations with minors and makes significant business out of this. From the 2019 financial report, Planned Parenthood had over $1.6 billion in revenue, of which $617 million came from government funding. They spent over $58 million on sexual education programs and $98 million advocacy efforts, including youth activism. It is a big business. Planned Parenthood's traditional services such as cancer screening and providing contraception have been declining steadily over the years, while they have maintained a steady stream of abortion services with most of the abortion clinics in minority neighborhoods. Their newest business development venture is counseling and treating gender dysphoria for minors. These kids, many with very serious emotional issues, are simply affirmed in their own self-diagnosis and then recommended for hormone treatment, often without the parents' involvement. and also without addressing the underlying emotional trauma. In a recent statement by an ex-employee of Planned Parenthood said, trans-identifying kids are cash cows, and they're kept on the hook for the foreseeable future in terms of follow-up appointments, blood work, meetings, whereas abortions are only a one-and-done situation. Planned Parenthood has now become one of the largest providers of hormone therapy for trans individuals in the country. The umbrella organization, the International Planned Parenthood Federation, IPPF, advocates, to quote, to integrate CSE into educational policy, programs, and curricula, declaring that children as young as 9 years old have
30
sexual
seconds.
rights and can decide freely with whom they want to have sex regardless of age. The parent goal is to sexualize children and normalize sexual relations with them. Planned Parenthood should not be allowed to promote or market their business strategy in public schools, even if it is under the thin disguise of comprehensive sexualization education policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roars. And up next, Katie Nash.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I just wanted to thank the district for everything that we have done thus far in relation to equity and inclusion, from the amazing symposium we had 2 years ago to the lecture series that we've had for 2 years, the book studies we've been able to put on, the roundtable discussions that we've held, the partnerships that we've built between CUSD and Chandler Education Association have been amazing. But I also challenge us to do more. So we can either adopt this idea of fear, where it's a false evidence appearing real, or we can face everything and rise. I challenge us to use the words anti-racist, white privilege, and the words Black, Brown, and Indigenous students. I encourage us to use the 1619 project and other curricula that's inclusive of all students. We keep talking about Arizona being the best and wanting to lead the way. I 100% acknowledge that it's not going to be easy, but we need to be very intentional and steadfast in what we're doing and not be pushed off path by outside influence. And lastly, our goal then is to hopefully pass a resolution that our district adopts anti-racist policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate all of our citizens who came out to speak with us this evening. Thank you very much. Let's see. Next, we have our consent agenda. Dr. Castile.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board. Very short consent agenda. We have monetary gifts in the amount of $57,990.35. We're excited to accept the donation from the Maricopa County Office of Enterprise Technology. You see they donated 2,000 Chromebooks, 2,850 hotspots to us earlier this year for our young people to use in the amount of $1,359,295.64. Central kitchen, freezer, and cooler replacement repair. We're requesting approval of the Arizona Restaurant Supply Company to do those repairs and replacements. This is under the Mojave contract, and it follows all of the district government and federal procurement guidelines. It's in the amount of $242,305.61. And your fourth and final item is the Human Resources, Employment, Separation, and Compensation. Recommend approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Castile. Could I please get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Carries unanimously. Our next section is our action item for this evening, and it is a playground refresh. Mr. Fletcher.
Madam President, members of the board, all elementary playgrounds across the district were assessed for a district-wide refresh. The scope of work has been finalized and could include any of the following: site demolition, final cleaning, retrofit, sanitation, rubber surfacing, potential fencing, concrete equipment, wood fiber, and swing sets. Core Construction was chosen as the construction manager of risk through the request for qualifications process. We divided the sites into 3 different categories: pre-1990, 1990 to 2005, and 2005 to current. I've listed the 9 sites for you and the cost per site. We have negotiated this guaranteed maximum price for the last several months, so we are recommending approval of Core Construction for a guaranteed maximum price of $3,647,676 for the playground refresh at 9 sites. I've attached, I believe, enough information for you to know what we're doing. We recommend your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Could I please get a motion?
Move to accept the playground refresh.
If you look under the chart, there's a recommended approval motion. We need to probably say the amount.
All right, hang on a moment. Okay, here we go. Recommend approval to Core Construction for a GMP guaranteed maximum price of $3,647,676 for a playground refresh at 9 sites.
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Fletcher?
I had one. You said you had like 3 phases or 3 groups. Is this the first and oldest?
Correct.
Group? Okay.
Mr. Fletcher, when you, are any of the pieces of equipment that are there going to be reutilized, or is this going to actually be replacing all of the equipment that's there?
Mrs. Marsden, each site has been walked somewhere between 3 and 5 times. We've evaluated what we can recover, what needs to be replaced. So not every site will be receiving new equipment. They may be receiving some pieces of new equipment where we can refurbish, but every site will be cleaned. Every site will get new rubber surfacing, wood chips, and anything else that it needs at this point.
Okay. I noticed that Chamois Leadership Academy is also having some handicapped sidewalk being created for it that I guess doesn't exist there at the current time. Where is that going to be located?
Well, it exists, it just doesn't exist in a very good fashion.
I believe it's decomposed granite that they're going through right now.
I believe that's correct. So it takes you from the portables down to the playground, I believe is the stretch of land we're
The
talking about.
portables, okay. Because I also noticed that there was a portion on the north side of the building where the kindergarten, well, when my kids were there, it was kind of the kindergarten side, but on the north side, just outside the playground, that we occasionally see buses there, and that's a decomposed granite area too that seems to be getting a lot of traffic.
We can look at it, Mrs. Marsden. I can't tell you individually each site.
If you could just take a look into that, because I was actually going to bring that up to you a month or so ago about the utilization of that. So I was wondering if that was the spot that was being done, because I have seen also a bus there that where the kids will exit and get on a bus. So,
Mr. Fletcher, I missed
something. If it's not attached to a playground or leading to a playground, it was not considered for this project.
Okay.
I may have missed something. Did you say there's 3 phases?
We broke the schools into 3 phases, yes. Pre-1990.
You say this is the first phase?
Yes.
So why break it into 3? Just time, money?
Both.
Okay.
This seems to be an aggressive timeline. You're going to start in June, but when it looks like it's a 6-month project, is that correct?
We will be meeting with CORE once, and if this governing board approves it, to see what we can start to do prior to school getting out and what we will need to accelerate in the 6 weeks of school and what we can do after, if necessary.
So during the construction time, it's possible at certain sites that some of the playgrounds will be completely closed during school for
We won't
school time?
completely close them, but for example, let's say there's a swing set or swing sets that are isolated that we can close off from the rest of the school, we may take advantage of that. But we have not really sat down with the GC yet, the general contractor, to go over the complete schedule. We've spent 6 months getting the guaranteed maximum price to where we believe it's fair and reasonable.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
I just wanted to know, kind of backing on your question, so do you think it will be pretty much ready by the time kids are actually allowed to go outside in the middle of the day? You know how we have to wait, 2 months to, because they have to be under 100 degrees, right, to go outside and play. So they only get to go out, at the beginning of the day, and then in the middle of the day there. So do you think you'll be finished by the time it gets cool enough for the kids to be out there in the middle of the day? Like a month or two
At this point,
in?
I can't answer that question, but our goal obviously is to allow kids to utilize it whenever they can. So where we can segregate and allow them to be on the playground, we will. Where we have to come in after hours, we will. And we'll take advantage of whatever breaks we can. The issue we're going to face right now is where towards the end of February, so lead time items on playground equipment could be a problem for us, especially with petroleum products and the pricing of petroleum products going sky high.
If there's no other questions, we will go ahead and vote on this. All those in favor of the playground refresh, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Next, we will move on to our information items. Our first one is My World Interactive Geography 2019 Spanish Survey. Dr. Gilbert.
Madam President, members of the board, for your information, My World Interactive Geography 2019 Spanish Survey materials are designed to teach Spanish language and world history to students participating in the dual language immersion 7th grade world history course. The package includes an online learning system classroom license for a maximum of 40 student seats and 1 teacher license for 6 academic years. The total cost of $4,457.09 includes materials, online licensing, shipping, and taxes, and will be funded through the district textbook budget. The My World Interactive Geography 2019 Spanish Survey resources are published by Savas and will be used by dual language immersion teachers to support language instruction and social science standards. In accordance with ARS 15721, the curriculum will be placed on display for the 60-day public review period for comments at the Melinda Romero Instructional Resource Center starting on February 25th, 2021. As you know, the first cohort of dual language immersion Spanish students will begin junior high at Arizona College Prep Oakland in 2021-22, coming from CTA Liberty, which started in, I believe, the 1st grade. Those students will continue to pursue language studies on the target language. In addition, these students will take social studies and also in the target language. Arizona College Prep Oakland Spanish and Social Studies teams worked with the secondary social studies academic coaches, Assistant Director Jamie McBride, and a 6th grade DLI teacher to review and vet the materials for this course.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Does the board have any questions or comments for Dr. Gilbert about the My World Interactive Geography 2019 Spanish Survey materials?
I just had one question that kind of overarches on a lot of these. We've asked before about how much is this a recurring cost, because when it's a license for a kid, each year you have to up that. And I know some of the materials might be hands-on materials or other things that are you buy once. Is there a way in the future when this is posted we can look at what is the chunk of that money for with a one-time purchase versus an ongoing cost?
Sure, we can definitely do that for you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? And just to remind the public that this will be on public review for 60 days, starting tomorrow at the Melinda Romero Instructional Resource Center, and you are welcome to come in, take a look at the materials, and make comments. We will move on to our next information item, early childhood education textbook and digital resource adoption. I believe that's Dr. Gilbert also. Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, the last CUSD early childhood education adoption was in 2006. The Arizona Department of Education, ECE technical standards in early childhood were updated in 2016. The district recently moved through the ECE textbook adoption process in accordance with ARS 15721 and CUSD policy IJJ and IJJR. 4 of the 5 current ECE teachers reviewed the Teachers reviewed and evaluated all textbooks submitted by the publisher. The committee is recommending the following 2 textbooks and their digital resources to move forward in the textbook and digital resource adoption process. For early childhood education 1, which is child development, early stages through age 12 would be Goodhart-Wilcox. Early childhood education 2, working with young children, Goodhart-Wilcox as well. Both textbooks and their digital resources include the following: print student textbooks, online learning suite, 6-year license, printed instructional editions, online instructor resources. The cost for the 2 textbooks and their digital resources is $78,781, including tax and shipping. This will be funded through the district textbook budget. In accordance to ARS 15721, the textbook and their digital resource will be placed on display for the 60-day public review period for comments at the Melinda Romero Instructional Resource Center starting on February 25th, 2021. After the 60-day review period, the public comments, the textbooks and digital resources will be presented for approval.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Are there any comments or questions on these? Dr. Gilbert, approximately how many students do we typically have taking these two classes?
I will have to check with, I have also Ms. Duran here that could help me with some of these questions from our CTE. She's director of CTE here in the district.
And this
our
is
expert.
And this is not just for one school, it's for several.
Good evening, members of the board. Yes, ECE, it is at 5 of our high schools. We have 1 teacher at every campus, and they are full-time, so I would say anywhere from 60 kids to about 125, depending on the campus.
Okay, thank you. And again, these will be at the Melinda Romero Instructional Resource Center for the next 60 days, starting tomorrow. Our next is Medical Professions Textbook and Digital Resource Adoption, and Dr. Gilbert.
Madam President, members of the board, the last CUSD Medical Professions adoption was in 2017. To stay in compliance with the Arizona State Board of Nursing Regulation 4-19801C6, the current textbook may not be older than 5 years from the date of publication. To meet this requirement, the district has recently moved through a nursing textbook adoption process in accordance with ARS 15721 and CUSD policy IJJ and IJJR. Medical profession teachers reviewed and evaluated all textbooks submitted by the publisher. The committee is recommending the following textbooks and digital resources to move forward in the textbook adoption process. Medical Professions 1 and 2, the Nursing Assistant Essentials for Holistic Care by Goodhart-Wilcox. The adoption includes the following: printed student textbook, online learning suite for 6-year license, printed instructor's edition, online instructor resources. The cost for the textbooks and their digital resources is $17,239.36, which includes tax and shipping. This will be funded through the district textbook budget. In accordance through ARS 15721, the textbook and digital resources will be placed on display for 60 days through a public review period for comments at the Melinda Romero Resource Center starting February 25th, 2021. After the 60-day review period for public comment, the textbooks and their digital resources will be presented for approval.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. I believe, Mr. Olive, you had some questions on this one?
I did have a question earlier. Dr. Gilbert, could you elaborate on our discussion we had a moment ago?
Yes, one of the question was, since the book is only realistically used for 5 years after publication, one of the questions had to do with the licenses being for 6 years. Within this textbook, either you have a choice of a 1-year license for online or a bundle of 6. And it was cheaper to buy a bundle of 6 than to pay for 1 year for 5 years for the need that you have for utilizing the online text.
Thank you. The other question that I have on this one is, what is the year of the publication on this, since we are only able to use them for 5 years after the date of publication?
I will lean on my expert in the room, Mrs. Duran.
Guess I should have stayed on the side of the room. 2020 is the year. It's the earliest they had. So.
Okay, so we have until 2025.
Well, actually wouldn't bring it until the end of the 2020, I guess, 25, 26 school year, because we can use it for that entire school year, even though it would go till 2025.
Okay, and since we're only looking at the last book that was adopted in 2017, I'm assuming that was not a 2017 publication date.
Correct. It was a 2015 or 16.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was wondering, it seemed a little early, and, numbers years kind of get moved around, it seems. Thank you. And again, this will be in the Melinda Romero Instructional Resource Center starting tomorrow, and any member of the public can go take a look and make comments on these materials that were presented this evening. Next, we have some survey results for the position of our interim superintendent. And Mr. Steve Hyland from the Arizona School Boards Association will be presenting those results. Mr. Hyland. We appreciate you coming and being with us this evening. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of ASBA, thank you for your support, and thank you for inviting me this evening. You are embarking on quite a road, one you haven't been down as a board. Many boards go through this every 4 or 5 years. You haven't seen a superintendent search in 25 years. That speaks highly of this district and your current superintendent. So it's quite an adventure that you're embarking on. One of the things that you're going to do is learn a lot about yourself, learn a lot about the people around you, and your community also. The beginning of that learning happens tonight with the collection of the e-survey material that I'm going to pass out to you in a few moments, and some conversation that we'll have not only tonight in introduction, but also next week. I believe the meeting is on the 4th, where we're going to really delve into the data, and you're going to get a chance to really work on what it says and where you're headed with that data. I liken this process much like a funnel. You know, at the top of the funnel, you can pour a lot of things in, but very little comes out the bottom, and it comes out slowly. Well, this will be a slow process. And everything you put in the top, as you are the people who are going to be controlling the funnel, putting the pressure on it to make sure you're going in the right direction, what comes out the end is really what you want. And that happens with those who apply for the position too. Those people come in, and you'll come out with one at the end as they come out, or as you make those decisions. Now, with that said, I'm going to give each one of you a packet. In that packet are 3 things. One is your homework. That's a 1-sheet page. That'll be an easy one for you. The other 2 packets are, 1, the survey that you took as a board, and 2, the survey that administrators took. I'm going to work through those with you for a few moments. Okay, the survey contained 10 questions, as you know. The first 8 questions were questions where you could choose an answer. The administrators took the same questionnaire. Question 9 and question 10 were totally open to your comments, just as they were with the administrators, open to their comments. What I'd like to do is begin with the packet that says board, and it's the lesser in terms of size. And says at the top, board survey. Let's start with that for a moment. How does this lay out in terms of the report back? Well, the first page says question 1 on it, as you can see, and it talks about leadership. And it gives you a little graph, and that graph shows you how you responded. You can't read the whole question until you look at the second page, though. And in the second page, you can see that the question is listed. The number of responses are listed in the percentage. Now, with only 5 of you taking it, each one of you represents 20% of the survey. One thing I want to show you in regards to that, for instance, on question 1, you can see it's pretty even. There's 1 or 2 people that have responded to each of the items. That shows you that it's pretty spread out in terms of what you're looking for. There's no real consistency there. That may mean that in discussion you decide all those things are important, or you may bring it down to looking at 1 or 2 of those items, or you may in discussion come up and formulate another one because you haven't seen what the administrators said yet. So if you look at question 1, obviously it's pretty even. But now go over to question 2, if you would. Academic programs. When you look at question 2, you can see that 4 of the 5 of you listed an item that states possesses a keen mission to raise student achievement for all students in the district and school. 4 of you said that was important. But as you can see, some of you said other things were important. And in none of these questions did all 5 of you say that one particular thing was a standout. So 80% said that, the rest are spread out. When you look at the other survey, the one for the staff, you can see the same thing is really the case. If you look at survey 1, you can see that up to almost 50% noted the second item. And if I can remove my clip, the second item says, in terms of leadership skills, there we go. The second item says, has experience motivating staff and students, improving morale. When you look at the survey and you start comparing the two, what you see that there is some degree of question, or a number of questions that were answered the same way, but you also see there's questions that were answered differently. Some things the board picked, the administrators didn't pick. Some things the administrators picked, the board didn't pick. And there were about 54 administrators, which is a good turnout for you, I believe, based on the number of administrators this was provided to. So what do we need to do with this information now? Well, what we need to do is, and part of your homework is, and that's the next page, or the single page I provided for you, we need to take a look at it individually, and then we'll look at it together next week. We need to get a feel for how you responded. We need to get a feel for how the administrators responded, and then we need to put those two things together, and we need to get a feel for how collectively you responded. That form I gave you, that's the one-page form, includes at the top of it your district mission statement, your vision statement, your core values. Then all of the survey titles underneath that correspond with the survey. These documents, core areas, these will expand. You're going to get this sent to you electronically tomorrow. If you have time, your homework is to go through both documents and start making your notes as to what you think you're hearing from the staff and what you heard from yourself and what you heard from others on the board. If you don't have time, that's what next week is for. We'll do it collectively together in part. But the more you can do ahead of time, obviously, the quicker we'll get through it next week and the more success we'll have understanding what the document says and where you want to head with this. Why is this important? Because to make a good decision, you need to know where you're headed. And right now, it'll be difficult to determine where you're headed. Also, I will say that you're not looking just at hiring a interim superintendent at this point. You're actually taking the first step to hiring a superintendent. Because think about where you were last year at this time, how quickly this year is gone. Next year at this time, you will likely be involved in a superintendent search. So the things you learn from the interim search, you will carry over to the superintendent search and be able to use that same material and the same thoughts. And those thoughts, however, will change. Because as you get into this, you think you're headed in a great direction, and maybe we find something that we hadn't thought about and we'll head in a little bit different direction. So with that, that's a brief overview of the survey, a little bit of an idea of what you're going to see when you get into it, and an idea of what we're going to handle next week when we meet and talk about the survey and talk about where you're headed with what you're looking for, how we can create questions that we can ask or you can ask your candidates that you can evaluate them on, and any other little piece of the puzzle that you need before you get into your interviews and evaluation of candidates. Madam President, I'd stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you. We appreciate, there's a lot of interesting material here, and I also appreciate getting the full category on the next page after each one of the graphs that we see, because of the verbiage being cut off on the graphs. So thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments from any of the board members?
No, it's just interesting. Thank you very much for that. It's kind of neat to see like the things we all kind of agree on a few questions, and then some questions we really didn't, either we didn't understand it or we are just all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you'll also find the comments made by board members and staff are interesting. So as you read through those, I think you'll gain a lot from that information also.
Okay.
Yeah, it almost looks like in some of them we have 10 questions and 10 that we were all able to answer to, and we have 10 responses, separate responses. So anyway, thank you very much, and we will be looking forward to seeing you at our next meeting next week.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Now we have our board agenda roadmap, and
Madam President,
yes.
I'd like to get the board's input on a couple meetings that I think we should have, study sessions. The first one is the district paid for personnel study, and this study was presented to all the East Valley school districts, and they were very helpful in helping them figure out areas where there needed to be adjustments. So I think I'd like to have that presentation on March 10th. If necessary, we can move the elementary assessment back. Why March 10th? I think we need to know in advance if there's any areas that need to be adjusted before contracts are written. Now, I feel fairly strong that this is a very complicated report, and there's a lot of talk, and I just want to hear it directly from Vance Jacobson, who did the study, to help us understand exactly where we might have some issues. So I'd like the board to bless having a study session on March 10th to hear a presentation on that. He is available. He's going to be in the area, excuse me, on March 9th and 10th. So I'd like the thoughts from the board about having a study session on that.
I couldn't hear what you were saying. What was the presentation?
It's on personnel study.
A personnel study, okay.
Yes, and
So what's like the short story about what that's about?
It includes all the classifications, and it points out areas where we are probably low or maybe high, and he'll help us understand where our schedule needs some adjustments or not.
I think it's also known as the compensation study that multiple districts piled together to contract with them and get that information. And I would agree with Mr. Worth. And I'm also interested in maybe looking at, wherever we're low, like coming up with a possible plan that may take multiple years, who knows, what that could look like and, what the vision is. To use that material.
Could you repeat? I wasn't able to hear well from the mask that you said with, and I didn't hear.
To use the data that they've collected about where we fall related to certain, whether it's by larger categories like classified, certified, administrative, or even subsets within classified, especially where there's a lot of variability, to see where our gaps are possibly. And then have a plan, possibly, some direction where we're headed, to use that information that we paid for, to make use of it, to make us fit the market, especially for those positions where we know there's a lot of competition for classified folks, for example, right? Because there's all kinds of fields they can go into. They don't just have to be in education necessarily. So, I think it'd be really helpful to give us, have that data to inform directions that we want to head.
Now, I think his presentation might take as much as an hour. Do we need to move the elementary assessment?
I'm open to whatever. It sounds like an interesting presentation. So, I'm on board with whatever everybody else is wanting to go with.
Is it a problem to move that?
Mr. Worth, we can work with that. If that's the pretty of the board, we can move that assessment. I'll talk to Amber Stewart, just to make sure that we're good to go with our timelines for the presentation at the second meeting in March.
Okay. I also have a request for another meeting. I think we heard the board. Two board members talk about our capital needs. In the past, a very detailed capital plan probably would have been a waste of time for Mr. Fletcher and his staff. But I now think we have the resources to put together a capital plan that can help us determine our current capital needs, our future capital needs, and what capital needs maintenance so we don't have to replace those earlier than normal. So I'd like it if Mr. Fletcher could present on the 24th what information he has now and what information we need to add or fill in. If Mr. Fletcher's staff doesn't have time, there are companies out there that we can hire to help him. I think it's important that we have a plan on our capital needs. Right now, we don't necessarily. Maybe we have more than I thought, but that gives Frank a chance to present that, and we can decide if it's enough detail and so forth. In the future, we're not going to have to build too many new schools. We're going to have just a lot of renovations. Yes, sir.
Well, I know a little bit about those evaluations and how long they take to do, and that's pretty quick to turn them around and get good information. You may get better information if you put it out a little bit farther out.
How far out should we go?
I would say at least a month.
Should we push it to May or June?
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily expecting Mr. Fletcher to put the plan together, just what he has, and then we can determine where to go from there.
Right, and so a lot of those capital needs, like you have to go out and walk all the roofs. You got 2 million square feet of roof to walk, so you got to go out and walk all the roofs and see when those have to be replaced.
That's why he may need to hire some company to help him, or those companies do a good job or not.
There are companies that do them, and that might be a sidebar with the facilities people to see if they want to evaluate their own stuff or if they would feel it's better to go out.
So should we let Mr. Fletcher pick a date in May or June, and then we go from that?
Mr. Fletcher, could I ask you to, comment on timelines?
Madam President, members of the board, no disrespect to Mr. Worth, but we can't be ready till probably August or September of next year to give you something that would be of value. It's just not feasible. You have 5.5 million square feet under roof, and to put together a semblance of something that would make sense to you is not going to happen overnight. So I would respectfully request you put that off until the end of the first quarter of the next school year.
Now, what my thinking was just to see what you currently have and what we need to add to it. Is that possible?
Mr. Fletcher, you have a list of projects that are pending for this bond election, and that's what they may need to see, because you have the roofs, the playgrounds, and maybe that's where we start, is what do we have already lined out? I know in the last bond election, the money request or need was far greater than what the board ended up approving, if I recall right.
It's just a moving target.
Well, I understand that. I think they could see what you have on your docket right now.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's totally unrealistic to have a complete plan. And it would have been a waste of your time in the past, but I now think we have the resources, so I'd sure like to see a plan developed some way, somehow.
We'll work on it.
Make
Get
any
some on the
sense to
agenda.
present what you have or not?
Again, no disrespect, you and I are just not going to agree on the subject. If you want us to present what we have, we will. But I don't know that it's of value to the board at this point, but we'll do what we can.
We'll get something scheduled.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other, let's see. Today's the 24th, our next board meeting is March 10th. Do we believe that we are going to be needing the meet and confer for the 24th, or I see we have.
We've scheduled it for, I'm sorry. You mean the
We have
board.
2 exec sessions. We have one on March 10th for meet and confer, and one on March 24th for meet and confer.
I'm hoping by the 10th we have a real definitive area if we want to get the contracts out.
Okay, so we may not need the one on the 24th, possibly.
Possibly.
But that's going to still stay on the calendar till we know for sure. Okay. And then I guess that's about it. Dr. Castile, do you have some comments for this evening?
Just a few. We are coming up on our second CUSD Educators COVID-19 vaccine pod. You recall we gave our first vaccine a few weeks ago. We're partnering with the Arizona Department of Health, local pharmacies, Albertsons and Fry's. It'll be at Hamilton and Perry High on March 6th. We're looking to vaccinate about 2,500 people. Also, we worked with Dignity Health in Maricopa County to get our second doses of Pfizer at Chandler Gilbert Community College, and that's gone really well for the staff. So we know it's been a challenging year, but there have been a great many successes. We're excited to show you the annual report, the written, and they are producing a video. Also, we have talked last week about a record 64 National Merit finalists. We're just really thrilled with the outcome of our students, given a very challenging year. This week, I want to share that we had a 5th grader, Caden Breens of Jacobson Elementary, is qualified for the state spelling bee, and that's always a real thrill for the families. I have tickets. The Chandler Education Foundation is continuing to work hard to raise money for our students and staff. You can win a car or cash. I have $20 tickets, and as well as Mr. Narducci, as well as the other superintendents, we're charged with selling a great many. If you do buy, if the staff here buys, we try to incentivize our staff. They get to wear jeans and tennis shoes the week before spring break. I had to up it a little bit because we're trying to get them all to buy a ticket to win a car, and I believe Mr. James is doing something similar at the Resource Center, but interestingly enough, the majority of the time, one of our staff wins the car, and even though they sell several thousand tickets. So if you need them, I have them, or, well, Donna has them. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Castile. And I will say the money is for a very good cause, for the Chandler Education Foundation. So they do a lot of very good things for our district and for our students, and have been a great partner with us for quite a number of years. So do board members have any comments? Mr. Olive?
Well, I have 2 things. Number number one, first I need to apologize to Frank and Joel. I didn't realize how many square feet we had when I was, say, in May, so maybe me and Frank are better attuned if it's really 5 million square feet, so that's pretty good.
Did you say we're at 5 million now?
Yeah.
5 million?
Yeah, that's a lot. Second thing is those kids that can speak Chinese are really impressive. That was really neat. And I don't know if they're still watching on YouTube, but if you are, you guys did a good job.
Anyone else? Well, and I do have to say, Mr. Olive, you did a really good job speaking Chinese too. So, thank you. With that, since there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.